Well. 2/17/2022, Tom and Q Show, episode 2. Hopefully this works.
Yeah,
this is
freezing up, but I heard noise.
Technically take 3, so we apologize for running a little bit late. Amazingly, when you think things are going smooth, it never seems to go that way. But I digress. We're here. I'm Tom. This is Q. You can see we got a new look. Fresh, clean, smooth. Stash on Sports is gone. The Super Bowl is over. We got a new logo.
Yes.
New logo brought out for season 2.
New image all the way around.
All around. It's a brand new start.
So my mustache didn't make it 10 minutes after the Super Bowl. Audra gave me a hug. Jessica gave me a sigh of, oh, thank you.
So it's funny because I told you this. Well, let's get your reaction, right? You did it. You maintained it for a decent amount of time.
Yeah. So 5 weeks.
What was the feeling?
It's kind of mixed, right? Because the attention was fun and entertaining. You know, a lot of Audrey's friends were like, "Your dad's mustache is epic.
Yeah,
that thing's amazing. That thing's awesome." And then I saw Mark Wahlberg has one. He grew one. There was an article on him doing it.
Saw that.
I was like, "That's interesting." Matt Damon's got one. I saw it at the Super Bowl, and I was like, "Look at this!" You know, the Tom and Q did it again.
It's amazing how many trends we start.
You know, and it's not like when you buy a car and then you drive around and you see everybody on the road with that car.
Yeah,
like it wasn't that way. It was just celebrities started following suit with us always being out in front of these trends and kind of calling the shots on when they become popular to society. So pat us on the back.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that going in my favor, and you know, to hear Mark Wahlberg's story on his kids and their take on it, and you know, his surrounding influence on it was kind of, that's the way it is. You know, mustaches are something that you can pull off or you can't. But I think a lot of that has to do with the character of the person wearing it. Just go with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I got one, I'm gonna rock it, even if it's weak or if it looks pretty good. So a lot of mixed feelings, but ultimately Jessica didn't like it, and that is the end all be all.
So I when I did it, past and before, like, it does take on. It literally changes
you.
It does change you.
Yeah,
it's weird how that, like,
yeah.
and you know, we could tell jokes and everything aside about it and make the comments, but it is really weird because when you first do it, you get this hesitancy.
Yes.
You know what we're talking about here, if you're just catching us, is growing a mustache. In today's day and age, it's not exactly, you know, hip. Right? Not exactly, or we didn't think. And so, you know,
until we made it.
There's some anticipation, kind of when you're like, hey, I'm growing a mustache, and then you're going to go out in public, whether you're going to go coach a game or meet your kids' friends or your friends, and like their initial reaction to it, you know, is always like, they always kind of take a step back, like, whoa. Right? And like, for me, like, I never planned on keeping it forever. It was my Super Bowl stash, right?
Correct.
And so, like, in order for me to get it right and be comfortable, like, for that whole month while we were going back and forth, and you started before me, when I said I was going to do it, I said, okay, I'm just going to keep, I would trim, but I kept a goatee.
Yep.
And then when it was time to seal the deal, the mustache was in full, right?
It was perfect.
But, like, I shaved the other, like, I got out of the shower, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I shave with, like, a regular razor, and then apparently shave, like, once a week, right? So, like,
right.
I typically have to trim with, like, an electric beard trimmer first, and then shave. So, like, it's just me and my stash staring in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I like a good schedule.
We should have had this song playing when we cut our stash.
Yeah.
It's the end of the road.
And like, I like a good kind of schedule, right? So like, I typically might only shave on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then it might be the next Tuesday or Wednesday. Well, when I grew the stash, I grew it before our show last week, right? I
Right.
shaved it before that to create the stash. So it lasted all through the weekend. I'm coaching basketball. I'm going showing houses, whatever. And it gets to Monday morning, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror for like 30 seconds. I'm like, and I'm off schedule, so I shouldn't have shaved again by my account until Thursday. I'm like, do I keep it till Thursday?
Oh,
Just to
shave it off on the show.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but being it's my house, it could get a little bit messy, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I'm contemplating, and I've got the trimmer started. It's a bzzz, and I'm like, no, just wait. And I'm sitting there, and it's like in my head, it's talking to me. It's like, don't do it, just wait till Thursday. No. Because part of the fun of doing that is also getting other people's reaction.
Yes.
Right. And if you don't get a reaction, you're like, oh man, they hate it. If you get the reaction, it's like they might still hate it, but it kind of served its purpose.
Yes.
Right. And I like to laugh. I like to think sometimes I'm funny. I like to make other people laugh. So
Yes.
I have
And I think that's what the mustache did for the character, is it brought that out a little bit more and said, hey, I'm here. You got to rock me. You got to wear me. You got to put it out there, and people are going to have an opinion on it. And you know what? Regardless of the opinion, if like or don't like, you got to go with it. And we're like-minded people, so we tend to go with it in a positive manner of just going with it. I'm going to rock it, and I'm going to wear it well.
Well, and I also think, if you're going to stereotype people in this world, right? Like-minded people like to be with like-minded people like them.
Mm-hmm.
And self-deprecation to me when you're talking about people's personalities is huge.
Yeah.
Like it is, I think that tells a lot lot
And you can
a
just use
person
the
that doesn't
mustache
take themselves
too serious.
way
You can
too
use the
serious.
mustache as a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Like the mustache made me do it.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
You get
I'm
an
going with that.
excuse,
Yes.
right?
To do anything you want.
That's it. And so
Every time I kiss Jessica, leaving the house or before bed or whatever it is,
yeah.
And she'd kiss the mustache. She's like, "Don't not make me kiss that mustache one more time."
Well, it would
It's
get
like it's not me doing it.
you take a drink or whatever, and like, man, it was
I
so
was chewing on mine. It was long.
it was so long. It's like wet hair like on your face, and it's like, it's like all right. And so I took it off, and then I looked at myself. I'm like, I have not been like clean shaven in a month.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, and I think part of the mustache's persona was still there, and it was like, I was thinking to myself, like, God, I hate my face. I was like, I look so stupid. Like, why'd I do this?
That's the mustache talking.
Yes,
the
it's
ghost
like-
of the mustache
it's like-
is telling you that the devil angel on the shoulder.
Yes.
Saying, it's just the mustache.
You
hate your face now.
yeah, way to go.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
You're a murderer. You killed me. So that that happened. We've got a new look. We've got a new logo. Thank you to special friend, Local Legends, and Ryan Weber. And we're not sure exactly of the gentleman or woman who helped create the logo, but she did a fantastic job. Thank you for your patience in doing that. The thought is that hopefully we'll have maybe some Tom and Q swag coming up in season 2. So we'll work through some of that
Sweatshirts,
stuff.
T-shirts,
Yeah.
stickers, and get it out there. And for everyone that's been supporting the show, we can't thank you guys enough. We'll make sure you're taken care of. And
Yeah, absolutely.
proudly promote us.
So that'll be coming up in the future here, kind of as we roll that out. But yeah, I was really happy with it. Looks great. Really looking forward to season 2.
Season 2 is underway today,
Yep.
man. We committed to 52 weeks. We committed to a year of this. And here we are doing this again. I had a great call with Ryan Weber on the way in, and he was like, "What are your plans? What are you guys going to do with this?" And I was like, "Man, we had some great visions last year and some things that we wanted to do. And we did the meals when we drove around and paid for other people's lunches and things like that. And life interjects itself into a lot of things to where we still have families to tend to, we still have business to tend to, and continue to move those pieces of life. But we've got other things working to where, we can spend some more time into this, and the ultimate goal is to still do, what we were able to do with Mark Mivers and what we were able to do with Fretboard and corporate, and sitting down with Coach Ayers and those people, and sitting down one-on-one with people and sharing their story of the small business and what they're doing and where they're going, and highlight them as local legends in the community. So we are always taking recommendations on anyone that is a local legend, to where we can sit down with them and highlight them, highlight their business, highlight their story, and go from there. So that's always been the goal. And season 2, we're gonna refine some things. And
I like the saying, get better and better every day in every way, right?
I got
so that's we've obviously today we're on take 3. Seems to be going okay right now.
Yeah, it's quiet in here.
So
this is when our friend Tommy Watkins and White Oak Productions is going to help us out with this.
We have
1992.
We have not spun the wheel in a while.
Country.
Because if not, I was going to go with Dust in the Wind. So
Dust in the Wind. Alexa, play Dust in the Wind. And then after that, we're going to play the number 15 song from 1992.
Or maybe not, because
So when I had to get the clippers out to shave the mustache, and I was like basically in the sink because I didn't want I didn't want to make the mess for myself to clean up, and I didn't want to. Not that she's mean about it, but I don't think anybody would want little hair. So it's like how close. And so my face was in the sink, getting that, and I'm looking around, and I was like, "Yeah, I got it all."
A little facial hair fun never hurt anybody, right? And so, season 2. Special thanks, local legends. Special thanks, White Oak Productions. Special thank you to the fine folks at Fretboard and the Matt Haverkamp Foundation. They have a 5K coming up. I saw
April 9th, I believe, is the date.
I told them, I will not be running in it.
I can cheer runners on.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So if you're interested in that, hit them up. We can send a link out. I think I forwarded that a few weeks ago in regards to what the date was, so we can reshare that. We're here now, and we, kind of as we're taking care of business, today, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. You can see, I'm kind of playing these downtrodden, blue songs, and it's not that I feel blue about what our show or what we're doing. It's just, it's been difficult, to say the least.
I like the reception of a lot of the fans, man. It was kind of cool, and I don't think the morning was as bad as maybe some anticipated or expected, because I think the knee-jerk thought and reaction for this town is we were still, we didn't have the "I'm excited to be here" mentality. I think that washed off due to the tone of some of the players' interviews. That's not who we are. It is us. We're not just happy to be here. We're here for a purpose. We're here with meaning, and we're going to win this whole freaking thing. And I think that caught on to this town, but still in our subconscious and in our mind, it was just it was so surreal. So when it ended, it was just, that sucked, but we're young. We didn't expect to be here anyway. We're grateful for being here, and it's let's get back to work. So there wasn't it wasn't like in Buffalo to where it's just oh no, this window's closing. We've been so close so many times, and it didn't rip our hearts out. I don't think. I didn't get that feeling, and I don't feel that energy in the city. It was, okay, let's build off of this and let's go. So how was your Monday?
Well, we're not going to get into that yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Not ready to talk about it. We're gonna go to right now our podcast stats.
All right.
Okay, and we're gonna. I feel much better about talking about that right now than anything else. As I'm pulling this up. So last week, we've done a couple of shows, over the 52 of them to be exact. We've done not as many podcasts, but we were able to manage over the year to turn this into a podcast.
Yeah, about mid-season 1, we started podcasting it up.
And so I'm looking through here, and last week we did the Super season finale. That currently has 4 downloads. We let that go on Friday. Everything else kind of remain the same, but let's take a look, a little bit deeper dive, if we will, into those 4 downloads. Who's doing it? Why are they doing it? We are in New York, New York.
All right.
New York, New York. Yeah, I love that song. Frank Sinatra. Grand Island, Nebraska. I didn't know there was an island in Nebraska.
Alexa, play Bubba Shot a Jukebox.
You want to know how I felt on Monday? And then our man Hans checks in from Frankfurt, Germany. So thank you all
Synchronicities.
for tuning in. So
Thank you, Hans.
We really do
Thank you, Frankfurt, Germany. All of you.
appreciate it. Justin, you and I, we're close. We're close on that feeling. We've got some plans to kind of talk about that. So keep that thought, because I could go multiple ways with that conversation. And I think we'll definitely get. I've seen that too. Trust me. See, you're going to make me go down a road, Justin, that I've got planned to go down, but you're jumping the gun here because we've got other stuff we're going to take care of, because I know darn well that that's going to take up pretty much the rest of our show. So hold tight.
Yeah.
Last week, you went for softball trip. Where'd you go?
I went to Spartanburg, South Carolina. Left Friday morning around 5. Got there 11:30. Got set up. Watched that game. Paige did not play Friday. So new coaching staff, new players. I got like 20 kids on the roster, so they're trying to identify who and what they've got going on. She did play Saturday, and she did well. She went 6 for 11 on the weekend. 4 RBIs, hit number 2 in the lineup, and she was dialed in, man. She had a great weekend.
Yeah.
Moved well, looked great. A lot of positive things about watching that team. So they're young. They've got a few seniors that are impactful and significant. But highlights of the weekend, their third baseman. She had a great weekend, hitting well. She's a sophomore. Paige is a sophomore. She just hit everything she saw. There was another, their center fielder, Chloe. She went absolutely bananas over the weekend. Another sophomore. They've got a pitcher who is a freshman who threw well. Another pitcher who's a sophomore committed with Paige that she pitched a shutout on Sunday. So there's a lot of that.
How many games did they play?
5.
5.
So there was a lot of sophomores that were highlighted in that weekend. So it's
the future's bright.
Yeah. So getting that A10 title and having a chance, by the time she gets out of there to go to the big tournament, it's
huge.
I think it's attainable for this group, and they've got a stud pitcher now as a junior. And if the freshman and the sophomore that they have now can do what they're projected to do, like any team, they can wreak havoc in the conference this year, man. And I would not be surprised at all if they win the A10 and move on and go to the NCAA tournament this year. So they've got a lot of good things going on. It was encouraging. They went 3-2 over the weekend. USC Upstate, with South Carolina Upstate out of Spartanburg. They've got a good gritty group, and that's who beat us twice. So it's for us going through some changes and identifying ourselves of who we are. Yeah. I think later in the season, when this group gets into their wheelhouse, they're going to be tough, man. They're going to be a tough team, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But it was awesome hanging out with Paige, and I share with everybody every time we have those gaps, and she experiences a little more life, and we go out to dinner and we eat and we have conversation. They're such good conversations to listen to her, and some of the stuff I'm going to share with you off the air because it's none of anybody's business, but it's so good, man. It's so good that
I remember
where her mindset is.
I remember having this conversation last year with everything that was going on and just the world being different. It sounds like it's 100% different. Yeah. You're talking about a freshman going into a new situation, not really knowing anybody, and all you really have is
COVID.
Yeah. The heck did that go? Oh, it's right here. Got it. I didn't want to say it because I couldn't find the bell. But yeah, so, seems to be going well, happy, completely different feeling from last year where maybe you 100%. Felt a little bit alone in a situation like that. It's crazy what sports will do.
Yeah, so with my lunches that I'm so obsessed with, I had like 40 lunches last year with people, and I got to hear 40 different stories, and I got addicted to it. Some of the parents I'm talking to, they're sharing stories of their kids that went through the same stuff, and it's, I'm able to take that back to Paige and say, hey, I talked to so-and-so, and, their kid is going through kind of this and kind of that, and then it's, when we look back to that age of our life, we went through it, and it's so par for the course. And the more you can have these lunches and have these conversations, it's like, oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking that. I'm glad you said that because I went through that too. And it's neat to help, share those stories with Paige. So everyone I had lunch with, you played a part in helping counsel her through a lot of challenging times, because not to say her story is exclusive to her, because it's not, and it's tough to relay that information to someone of like, what you're going through, it's pretty normal,
right? But
to you it seems like the biggest thing in the world, and it's just an average life story. Get over it and get back to work. So not to go on a rant with that, because I can go down that rabbit hole and get serious about things, but it's so cool to watch her grow, and with us in life being on this side of a lot of challenging moments,
right?
What they're going into and what they're going through, and it's like, you'll make it through. And it's so easy to give that advice from that chair, right? The chair of experience is so easy to say whatever you want to, because you're on the other side of it. But go back to that moment, and there's another conversation that I had with a great friend is, he's asking me for experience, and I was like, man, and I paused and I said, I really have to seek up that emotion and go back to that time in my life. And I was like, hey, you know what? I had a very similar experience now that I'm thinking about it, and here's how it played out. And it was just a good, encouraging conversation for both of us.
Right.
Because it was that sucky moment in life that we all hated, that you're on the other side of now, and it's like, I'm glad I went through it.
Yeah, and it's, I when I'm talking with my kids, it's like, there's not a whole lot that you guys are going to do that's going to surprise me. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
In terms of like, I don't want to sit here and tell you that I've done it all, but in a normal situation, like, you're not making this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you're not making this stuff up. Like,
right.
This current situation that you're in right now is not the end of the world. We've all went through it. Yes, it seems terrible right now, but you're gonna come out of it. And sometimes just that reassurance from a parent's experience or somebody else's experience is extremely helpful.
Yeah, and it's so tough taking that advice or that counsel from the parent.
Right. It
really is, and that's where I mean, it could probably bring me to tears, this specific topic, but Paige, trust me.
Yeah.
And it's so many kids don't, because you live with your parents every day. So the counsel coming from your parents, like, oh, this is just dad saying this or mom saying that.
But do you think that's because we've had this conversation before, again.
Alexa, play Jody Messina, bye-bye.
Again.
Synchronicities.
So, you have 3 girls. I have 3 boys. Not exactly the same age, but relatively close.
Yeah.
And like Paige may be one way and Audrey may be another, right? So
yes.
Like, you may have, like, if my example, like Carson might be like my Paige, where it's like he trusts what we're saying.
Yeah.
And the other kids, it's like they're a little bit more adventurous, or they won't, like, they're gonna find out for themselves. Like,
yes.
Even this is wrong. Don't do this. Don't put your finger in a light socket. Ah, damn, that hurt. See, I told you. Right? It's like they have to.
I think middle school sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I love
so everyone that don't have a middle schooler, I love it. Parenting through middle school, for our experience, it was challenging because you had to be out in front of so many things. It was such a different time with technology. There's a lot going on that you have to try to be out in front of, and it was a challenge. Not to say my kids, I love my kids, they're all good, but they go through, and we all humans go through a moment in life to where we have to identify who we are. We have to understand who we are. And I had a conversation with one of the moms, and she's talking about her son, and she said he tries on personalities like outfits.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this personality doesn't work on me. And I was like, I love that visual, because that's what they do through middle school. Is they're just trying on, am I part of this clique? Am I part of this clique? So it's just a different outfit for the day. And as parents, we have to be consistent with our counsel and persevere through some of those challenging times. And Grace and I, she's a junior now. She tried on a lot of outfits like most kids do that pocket of time. And, going back to Paige trusting, I had a conversation with Grace, and I think she's taking off the outfit of pride, because she walked away from the conversation, and then she comes back and she said, you know what you said makes a lot of sense. And it's like, all right, so we've broken through those walls. And it's just, my advice to all of them is like, guys, I don't know what to tell you to do in life. I don't have that knowledge. But like you said earlier, I've done a lot of stupid things.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what not to do. Don't do these things. Well, what do I do then? I don't know, but I know what not to do.
What not to do.
Because I've messed up enough.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get to where you want to go in life. I don't know how to get to where I want to go in life. But I know how not to get there. So that's kind of where what I think is sound counsel.
It is.
It lands.
When you're looking at that, and I'm a big fan of life experiences, right?
Yes.
Because they ultimately mold you, right? Based upon whatever life experience it is that you go through, that you have.
Yeah.
And each of the kids are going to take those life experiences in a different way. You're going to have that situation where it's like, oh, that does make a lot of sense. Then you're going to have the other one to be like, no, that's stupid. and
then from the chair of the parent, it's like, oh, this sucks, because you have to take that seat back and you have to let them feel that hurt. You have to let them experience that mistake. You have to let them go through those same things that we went through, because that's what got us through, and that's what helped us understand and be compatible with them.
Yeah.
Because to know what they're going through, and it's just like, all right, if you're not going to listen to me, all right, just meet me somewhere and just don't do this one thing. But the rest of it, I'm telling you right now, it's going to suck, and you're going to cry. And when you cry, I'll be here to hug you.
Yeah.
And you just have to watch them go through the suffering and the pain of whatever decision it is they're going to make. And it's
so before I get to the hugging and the consoling, I'm more of the like, ha ha ha, told you so. Like, see how dumb that was? But that's, when you're, we talk a lot about.
Yeah, I do think girl
lives.
pride and guy pride is a little different.
So that's the difference, right? So that's
told you.
It's yes,
I told you. So Boys in the Hood, when he gives, there's a classic car scene. It was like, I told you. So that's one of mine and Paige's classic go-to. I told you. I told you.
So this is a big week in Ohio, right? You're dealing with it next week coming up. But the official start of Ohio high school spring season is Monday.
Yep.
So there will be, whether it's track and field, gosh, man, it's been so long, I don't even know how many spring sports or what they are, but obviously baseball, softball.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
First thing that comes to mind.
No disrespect to track or whatever else is going on, but.
So that's coming up next week, which will be interesting. We're kind of going through, the varsity section of it right now. Coaching, I'm quite a few kids that are going to be going out and trying to put their best foot forward. We're our own personal, Carson's attending, his first real showcase this weekend.
Yeah.
So things are kind of ACTs, we're going through all of that kind of stuff right now. So it's interesting, and from a parent's perspective, from a kid's perspective, going back to what we just talked about, it's, hey, I think you need to do this. I said to him, this was, a couple months ago maybe. I said, go down. He wants to play college baseball, okay? And I think he has the ability and talent to do it somewhere. I said, go to your counselor and tell her, this is what I'm interested in. What do I need to do? He hem-hawed around, and there was finally a day. You remember these days in high school, it was like, you go in the morning, it was like exam week, right? You don't have any exams. Well, I think with COVID, they stopped kind of letting people just go, and they kind of kept people, basically, now you just sit in study hall for the rest of the day instead of hey, your day's over. So he texts me, and he says, hey, can you get me out of school? I said, do you have anything, don't you have class the rest of the day? Because I'm oblivious to their schedules, that's unfortunately for Nicole, she does a really good job with the school stuff.
Right.
I'll handle sports, and I'll be the guy when you need the whip cracked, I'll do that. I'll make sure the truck's got gas and oil and whatever needs to be done. So I said,
Alexa, play The Boys of Summer from Ataris.
So Alexa, play Boys of Summer.
Here's The Boys of Summer by Don Henley on Amazon Music.
That works.
It's
Talking
synchronicities,
about,
right?
Yeah, as we're talking about baseball, right? And so I said to him, I said, well, you want to come home, or did you go to your counselor? No, not yet. Oh, well, it seems like you have a perfect time to go to your counselor. He starts him-hawing around, whatever. And eventually he goes there. She's not there. He schedules a meeting. He goes, meets with her. She hands him paperwork, opens this relationship, and he goes down and goes, well, he was mad at me. He's like, nobody ever does that, Dad. Nobody does that. I'm like, I don't care if nobody ever does it.
Right.
This is my life experience of somebody who can help you and help us, because
there's
we
1% of successful people, crazy successful, and then there's 99% of the people that nobody ever does that.
Right.
So whatever.
So he goes in, gets all the stuff, comes back. Man, that was really good advice. I'm glad I did it. I'm like, and what I do? Ha! Told you so. It's like, no, don't worry about everything else. And then he had a buddy of his who I also coached.
You know those thug life memes? You just need to walk around with sunglasses in those moments. Just put it on and start playing.
So, and then a good friend of his came over. He's like, oh, why'd you do that? He goes, well, my dad said I should do this, and because we're trying to find out what to do. And the kid, he's also a player too. He goes, man, that's really good advice. I'm going to do that too. Oh, so now what? You're the cool kid? Like, you're the kid that all of a sudden does the right things? No,
you're the cool kid.
I'm
Tom.
the cool dad.
I'm
the smart one. I'm not gonna let that go to waste, right? So anyway, that starts on Monday. So to anybody that's going out for any type of spring program, spring sport, all the best of luck. Remember, when you are in tryouts, this is again, I'll go back to life experiences, right?
Yeah.
Team players, in my opinion, are great. Love team players. When you are at a tryout, there are no such thing as team players.
There's a dog.
You've got to go out there. It is about you, and that's okay. And then when you make that team, then you show your true colors and what good of a teammate. And
you got to make the team to be a teammate.
Correct.
Yeah.
I love nice people, but you're right. You've got to be that dog when you go out for that tryout. It's got to be about you.
Yes.
It has to be, because if you don't, you're going to have regrets. And
isn't that an interesting dynamic? And I think that's I love sports. I'm biased in my opinion. I'll openly say I'm biased and impartial in my opinion, because it's my experience, and what we can both relate to is the dynamic of that of looking out for yourself. But if the ultimate goal is looking out for yourself is the benefit of the group, then that's great. And you have to walk both lines of and I purposely choose not to use the word selfish, because it's not a selfish thing, but you do have to bring something to the team. And the only way you're bringing something to the team is if you take the time to refine and develop yourself.
And show yourself. Because
what can I do for the team? Let me go fix that.
How many good athletes that maybe are introverts, that they just kind of go with the flow? And when you go with the flow, you get lost in the flow.
Yeah.
Right? You get lost in the crowd. If you're taking 15 to 20 people and you got 100 people showing up, you need 20 people that stand out.
Yep.
And you got to make yourself stand out some way, somehow. So that'll be important. So that's kind of Tom's bit of tryout advice.
Yeah.
Make yourself stand out. Make it about you. But best of luck.
In between drills, make sure you're the kid that's running and helping fetch balls, man. Make sure you're doing a thing to participate and interact, and that is noticed.
Yep.
Tremendously noted. When you see kids that stand around and watch, and then you see kids that just naturally, instinctively go shag fly balls or shag or whatever it is, and or they, as soon as it's over, for me, it's some of the drills that I do. I go through the bucket of like the wiffle balls, and I'll just grab the bucket and throw it down, and I will step back and watch, like, who instantly snags, and like, it's a good kid, it's a good kid, it's a good kid. Like,
I'm gonna go off topic here.
Over there?
So you mentioned buckets and balls, right?
Yep.
My pet peeve. I'll give you one guess what my pet peeve is.
LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, everybody just shooting.
Yep. Exactly.
That's why I don't give them that.
Nope.
So all the everything's hitting down there. I'll grab the bucket and I'll throw it and say, get everything. Right?
So we go.
Or I'll kick the bucket away and say, everyone get.
So we have family practice on Wednesdays where I take the boys up and for an hour and we work on things. We have practice with Austin's team on Thursday and then Carson's teams on Sunday morning. And it doesn't matter how many people are there. Doesn't matter which age. You know, you're talking 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old kids, adults. You're talking 7-year-old Blake. You're talking 12-year-old team with Austin, right? Doesn't matter. Does not matter. There will be 3 of them that are picking up balls and trying to make it in a bucket. And then what happens? You've got to go back and pick it up. We got an hour to do. I remember it was Coach Newton, and we got to set up a time to get out there to Anderson, too, to check out what he's got going on. I did look at Corrain's schedule, so if all goes well, Corrain plays at Anderson.
Sweet.
So I will do everything I can to be in attendance to that game. So it never fails. But he used to say we'd be in the gym, and we were kids once. We were doing the same thing. Fire away. Come on, guys. There's no reason for us to pick these balls up twice. And so every time I see a kid, let's go, guys. Put them in the bucket. There's no reason for us to pick these balls up twice. And we got off topic there, but you mentioned the bucket of wiffle balls, and it drives me insane. I got a lot of pet peeves, especially when it comes around the game. But that is almost, I can't quite say that's
I think I'm going to let them do it at a price. So you can throw, but if you miss, you get a lap.
Yeah.
You'll see how. You'll see.
Was it worth it?
Right.
Was it worth it? Tell me it wasn't worth it to pick that ball up twice.
What if I make it, Coach?
Yeah.
Well, good for you. You should have.
You know,
if you
but
don't, there's consequences.
Kind of going back to that and kind of talking
Alexa,
about,
play Afro Puffs.
I rock roughs and stuffs with my Afro Puffs. Talking about that, like, as you are going through tryouts and even talking about, like Paige's team, and as, as a coach, they are trying to, a coach once called it, it was basically like a flushing out season, right? So it's like, I forget exactly, I was going to bring it. Yeah, coach once said, glad I could remember exactly what he said at the time. It was a shakedown cruise is what it was, right? So it's basically you're shaking out your roster. Everybody's going to get a bunch of playing time at the beginning of the year, but then when push comes to shove, the cream is going to rise to the top.
100%.
But the one thing to
Exact
remember,
words out of my mouth at dinner time with Paige.
regardless of what side of that you are on during this shakedown, hustle and effort are free. Hustle and effort are free. Talent is different. But you can always give effort and you can always hustle.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing for kids to understand. Like, it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
So continuous hustle, continuous effort, best of luck.
Yeah, I had a girl one year. I always called her my favorite non-Page softball player. And, I was great friends with her dad, and she was just an exceptional kid and an exceptional ball player. And, I was coaching her. I took her aside and said, you are one of the best players of any field that you step on. You're just a great player. And, she just confidence issues or whatever and humility. And I said one of my favorite speeches was from Ray Lewis when he took people on to the Ravens. He said, if you want to be successful in this league, do what I do. Practice like I practice, prepare like I practice. If you ever see me take time off, then you have an excuse to take time off. But if you don't, then you don't. So follow my lead. It's like you're naturally a gifted athlete, so naturally people are going to follow you, or are you that leader? She was like, I said, all right. So now if coach player, I know not to put that on you because it's nothing you've asked for. But you also have to understand that people just naturally look up to you and they depend on you because they think you're going to come through in clutch situations. So they're going to follow your work ethic and they're going to follow things. So don't allow these kids to let themselves off the hook by your behaviors. But I'm not putting you in a leadership role.
We talked about that a little bit in a different sense, kind of off the air before we got on the show. I forget exactly how you said it, but you are who you hang out with, right?
Yeah. The mirror neuron conversation.
Yeah.
You show me your 5 friends, and I'll show you you.
Right.
Yes.
And it also goes back to the cliche of, if you want to be successful, do what successful people do.
Yes, they go to their counselor.
Right? You want to be
Get guidance.
if you want to be successful, you do what successful people do.
Yes.
So, you look at guys like, whether it's Bill Gates, for an example, like Bill Gates just didn't like all of a sudden like wake up in the morning and I'm successful. No, I mean,
No. I talked about I had this conversation on the way in as well. It's so funny, all these synchronicities.
Yeah.
Bezos, dude started in a garage selling books, and now it's Amazon.
Yep. That's really good advice for young people and everybody about, because when you have somebody, and we've all been there, where you've got somebody like, there's nothing I hate worse than somebody blaming the universe or blaming God for their problems. Yes, there is a such thing, I believe, in bad luck, right? But
Right.
also, in the same sense, like, life is, work is, all these different things are what you put into it.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you want to be successful, do what successful people do.
Yes.
Pick yourself up
Yes.
and figure that out, right? And that's it's kind of tough, kind of razor's edge advice,
Yep.
and people have down times but like blaming other factors because you're not as successful as Johnny
Yes,
over here.
it's life. We all go through it. Your
You know.
situations aren't exclusive. Get
It-
over
it-
yourself.
Which leads us into our next topic. And I can't do that until we play the song. Alexa, play My Heart Will Go On.
My heart will go on. Love theme from Titanic.
I love theme from Titanic. David Spade did a stand-up. Titanic.
So, we had the Super Bowl, and we had weeks of build-up, and it started off great. I was telling you before, we had some basketball in the morning. We had our party over here at 3. So I was kind of reserved. I wasn't nervous. I was thinking about it to the point of I woke up at 1:30 in the morning. Like this was hilarious too. Like I love the songs that people, like amateur artists or whatever, they put out.
Yep.
Like there's one group called the Bengal Boys.
Okay.
You have to check them out on YouTube.
All right.
They remake songs, and they were using players' names. So there's like they remade a song about like Joe Mixon.
Oh, yeah.
They did Bohemian Rhapsody.
Fantastic.
Did you hear it?
No.
So instead of Mama, it was Uzama, and then it was like Who Day, and it went on. It was so daggone good. Like it was, and so like I wake up at 1:30 in the morning, and Justin, I hear that. So I went to bed early, knowing that Sunday was going to be a long day, and it took me a while to fall asleep. So I probably indulged myself a little bit to make sure that, hey, we're going to go out. Like we're going to go, like I'm going to go to sleep at some point. So I wake up at 1:30 in the morning, and in my head I'm going, Uzama, I'm like, I'm never going to get this out of my head. And like, it's, when you get my age too, and eventually you wake up in the middle of the night, you have to go pee, and it's really difficult to go back to sleep.
Yes.
Right? So,
Yes.
So I wake up again at 4:30, and same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Then we had an early morning basketball game. We go to the basketball game, and we had other stuff that I had baseball practice. So it's like, okay, get back. I'm putting 20 pounds of chicken wings on the smoker, so I'm trying to get that stuff ready. And finally, about 2:00, everything was kind of under control. The house was clean. Not to mention Nicole was gone for 3 or 4 days, so it was just us. And so like I'm like, okay, do I get stuff right? Well, it turned out it never happened. So everything had to be done on Sunday. So about 2:00,
Right.
I finally like pour my first drink, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh. and then the nerves start kicking in, right? And I'm in panic mode. I'm freaking out. You know, the food was great, and the game starts, and we're sitting here, and I look over. I'm like, I really want them to win the toss and defer because they've been a great team the end of the half, and then a really great team the beginning of the second half when that's happened.
Yep.
So if the game is close, I had a really, really good feeling going forward. They win the toss. They defer. My one buddy, we talked about prop bets, right? So we lost that one, by the way.
Right.
51% of all time tails. We called tails. We
Yeah.
lost. Drops a stat that the last 7 teams that deferred or got the ball in the second half, usually all teams defer.
Yeah.
So the last 7 times, which was the last 7 times that's happened, those teams have lost.
Yep.
Make it 8. So
14 out of the last 17 that wore white uniforms won.
which is
So
insane.
now it's
right?
15 out of the last
So
18.
that starts, but I'm like, whatever. They play the game. They go for it at midfield, 4th
I'm
and
still
1.
mad about that. That's the only call in that game that I'm mad about. Still mad about that.
Oh, there's
call.
plenty of calls I'm mad about. We'll get into that too. So they go for that. I'm like, time and place, man.
Yeah.
This ain't week 2.
No.
Like, punt the ball. Make them, if they're going to score, make them score at minimum 80 yards.
So we got a great defense. We can put them on the 50, and I'm confident enough in our defense. Okay, I'm not going to challenge that, but you also have a great defense. Pin them in the 10,
Yes.
and let them come back out, and then you start with the ball roughly in the similar. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to invest in your defense, put your defense in a better position.
So-
It's just,
So then they go out. They score. The Rams end up doing what we thought they'd do. They score.
mm-hmm.
Bengals get the ball back. They kick a field goal. It's 7-3. We eventually get the touchdown. 10-3. You know, I think I could be. Some of this is a blur just because of the last few
Fair
days.
enough.
But they go. Bengals take the lead, and they pretty much. I don't want to say dominated, but looked really good.
Yeah.
in doing it.
I thought
They
both teams it was balanced.
you know, they score, and you go to halftime. I remember right before halftime, we'll get into. Actually, let's go there now.
I loved it.
The halftime show.
I liked it. It was for what it was. It was like take you back in memory lane, put you in this pocket of time. And I think everybody, played the songs that were popular to that time. And I laugh at everybody. And as soon as halftime was over, I got on my Facebook and I was like, "You guys ready? Worst ever, greatest ever." And Jessica sent me a freaking a meme that made me laugh. See if I can. I don't want to look too long to find it, but it was kids under 18.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like you're
So
gonna.
who is this? What? I've never heard of them before. Kid between it's, I've
I saw a couple too where it was like, one of the ones was like, kids. You're really gonna come the halftime show. You're gonna find out a whole lot about your parents, right? And
Yeah.
so you had that meme. Then you had like kids under 18, whatever. They're sitting back and they're like, "Oh, who is this?" And then goes that same kid and he's just bobbing his head like, "All right, yep, this is actually pretty good, right?"
Yep.
And so they go on, and then obviously it was a hit. It was a huge hit.
Yes.
Yeah, they nailed it. Extremely entertaining. Why? I saw it. So you had 50 Cent, I guess, was the surprise
Yeah.
guest, right?
So
Of course,
50 Cent got caught up in inflation.
yeah. It's like 50 Cent's got a dad bod. So I'm on TikTok and I'm watching. There's this guy. He's making this. This is what I'm on a diet. This is what happens when I'm on a diet. And so he goes and opens the refrigerator, and like there's 50 Cent like hanging upside down, like bobbing his head, singing, and his dad bod. And he's like going to like, and it got to the point where like he opens the drawer, and then there's like a tiny little mini 50 Cent just sitting there like bobbing his head. It's like
The old Dr.
the internet's undefeated, man.
Yes.
The internet is absolutely undefeated. So it was a lot. That was really entertaining.
Yeah, I'm not here to be a critic on that stuff, and I don't think anybody should be. It is what it is. If it wasn't your cup of tea, move on. If it was, cool, enjoy it. Don't. Who cares?
Yeah, whatever in terms of outside noise about what is it's entertainment,
Yeah.
right? Did you not expect Snoop Dogg to smoke some pot prior to?
Oh.
Like, come on.
It's
It,
you'd have been shocked if it didn't.
correct. But
Yeah, it's
if I'm Snoop Dogg, I'm trying not to get caught on camera.
true.
Yeah, right.
Or I am trying to get caught on camera because, yeah,
So, obviously that happened. It was extremely entertaining. And if you took it just for what it was, an entertainment,
yes,
right? Leave it at that. It was
Yes.
very entertaining. So that ends. Another thing that got lost in the
And
shuffle.
I'm gonna put people. I do get so entertained with how many people just feel so emotionally connected to like the hatred to
Yeah.
a Super Bowl. Like, why? Like that is just, or like they feel like so convicted to support it either way. Why do you care?
Right.
It's a halftime show
It's
to
entertainment.
the biggest show. It's like the icing on the cake, right? And you go to a birthday party and people eating the cake. It's like, oh, there's icing. It's like people have an opinion on the icing.
Yeah.
Of the icing so often. It's just like, why do you care about the icing? You're here for a birthday party. It's like, why do you care? It's not. Everybody's not tuned in to watch the halftime show. It's just part of the Super Bowl. Relax. And in commercials, it's
Well, then you had Evan McPherson who didn't go in the locker room.
didn't
He
go
just
in the locker room.
he's like, I'm not missing this. Dude's 21. He's like,
I'm a kicker.
yeah, you don't need me out there.
I
He's
got
just,
it here.
He's just
Do
over there,
whatever
like,
I want.
just bouncing and bobbing his head. It's like, and then the Bengals are winning, and then,
For everybody that has such a convicted opinion on the Super Bowl, get over yourself.
So
The halftime show.
the halftime show ended, and what got lost in the shuffle were the commercials. I'll be honest with you. Like, there's a lot. Like, I wouldn't, because the Bengals were playing. Like, I didn't have a whole lot of attention
Yeah.
for them, right? So I'm like, okay, fine. And so I go in, I got use the restroom real quick, and so down here, like we were down here in my restroom. I put when I built it, I put a speaker in there,
Yep.
right? And it was for those types of moments, like, hey, you don't miss. So the first play of the
See, I
game.
would struggle with that because I dance a lot with music.
I ain't cleaning that mess.
Sorry, Tom.
So I'm in there doing going pee, pants are unzipped. I'm standing there and I hear like touchdown Bengals. I'm like, what? Like, I literally opened the door, fly wide open, everything. Like, what just happened? Like, it's one of those like, I don't want to, like, do I stay in the bathroom the rest of the time at this point? It's like
Sit down.
yeah. So
That's that superstition kicking in.
So they score. It was just like I just said. They deferred. They had the lead. They came out, scored right away. Boom, punched them in the mouth. And man, their level of play on the offensive end from that point going forward, it was almost like they forgot where the heck they were.
Yeah.
The moment all of a sudden got there, and I'm over here, like, they scored that touchdown. Not only that, the very next play, they get an interception.
Yes.
And so from that interception on, the offense, like, what happened? Like, I know I know the answer, right? But, like, it was almost like everything changed.
Yeah. It was. It was. Grace's boyfriend was there, and we were watching. I'm like, man, this game's getting tough to watch. Like, it's like, but I predicted 2016 final, and it was 2016 for a long time. My niece actually texted me and said that score though, and I was like, hey, I said, here's what's going to happen. We're going to drive down, bog out, turn it over. They're going to drive down, bog out, and it's both teams are conservative because they're trying to work the clock, and the Rams are trying to milk as much clock as they can because they want to score. So the Bengals don't get the ball back. The Bengals are trying to strategically. So there's a lot of like chess matches being played with the clock right now. And the same exact thing happened with the Chiefs to where they got down and they didn't want to score too quick. So they started, conservatively doing the offense, and then they got obviously backed out and had to settle for the field goal, which changed the game and it helped the Bengals
Do you
advance
think they
on.
got conservative?
The Chiefs?
No.
I think both teams did. I think both. I think the Rams and the Bengals both looked at the clock and said, how do we want this game to finish? If we score, then they'll have the ball for 5 or 6 minutes. Then we'll get final crack at the ball. So I think both coaching staffs had to factor in the clock going into the fourth quarter of a 20-16. We're at a one-score game. We have to manage this clock as part of their strategy. I think both teams got conservative.
See, I tend to disagree. With that. I think the from the Bengals perspective, knowing the amount of time that he had back there, I think they got over aggressive. And you had Joe Mixon, who only carried the ball 15 times for, I think, 72 yards and had quite a bit of pop running it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they started, it almost like they were dropping back too far. Simplest terms, right? Like looking for.
Alexa, play Usher. You remind me?
Yeah, by Usher, featuring Lil
That's
Jon
fine.
and
So
on Amazon.
it was almost like they were trying to get a big shot in to try to finish it when they could have just kind of kept the same game plan that they were rolling with, instead of, like, it's almost like too much. It's the word I'm looking for here. Like, sometimes people change things when they really didn't need to, you know?
Yes.
It's like, hey, they've been really good at halftime adjustments. Their adjustment probably should have been no adjustment.
Yeah.
This is because it was like they're back there quicker than you can imagine, and then all of a sudden, you mix and pops a runoff, and then we want to take the big shot again. Like, no, like the one, I hate the Steelers, but the one thing when the Steelers were good were they did not abandon that run. They
No.
continued to just pound it down your throat,
And-
regardless if it was 1 yard, 10 yards, 2 yards, whatever. Like, you have him dropping back, and he drops back to the, like, he's not going to get, he's trying to make a play. Now you're out of field goal range.
Right.
Where you were in field goal range, he gets sacked. Now they got a punt, which gives the Rams the ball back the last time. And I thought, because of I think there was 5 possessions back and forth where it did get bogged down, where there was nothing.
Right.
You know, it was punt, whatever, first down, whatever, but ultimately ended up putting. I thought that last drive, the Bengals were playing solely on heart alone, because if you watch their pass rush, if you watch those guys who they have cliche, the high motor, the
Yeah.
Hendricksons and the Hubbards, they
Yep.
have an extremely high motor. In their pass rush, they looked gassed. Like they couldn't get home. They were doing everything they could. They just couldn't get home.
Yeah.
Right? And they weren't close. And so Stafford has a little bit more time, and he's finding, Cooper Kupp. Don't forget OBJ got hurt too, which
Yep.
is, I don't necessarily buy that if OBJ is in the game, it's a blowout, but that was a difference.
Yeah.
There was a giant difference there when that happened. But if you watch like their pass rush, even their coverage, they were gassed because they were on the field, it seemed like, for so long. Had
Yes.
you run the football, you would have shaved off more of that time. Whether you had to punt or not, you would have shaved.
Mixon was running well.
Yes.
5 yards of carry. And you're
Yeah.
going to abandon that dude?
Yes.
Before the Super Bowl, I texted he was going to be the Super Bowl MVP, and that was my X factor. And,
Touchdown. Don't forget the touchdown pass.
And a touchdown pass.
My argument would have been if the Bengals would have won, I think T. Higgins would have been your Super Bowl MVP. Probably would have been. Probably would have
cousin
been.
in the house said the same thing.
There's a lot of people though that so let's talk about the drive, right, that they had. You look at the drive and the defense is gas, and then they get down there similar to the Raiders game where they're down there kind of same yard line.
I was
and-
expecting that game to end the same way as every other game.
Well-
the defense was going to step up and make a
So-
play, and they did, but they didn't.
So you get them, you have them on 3rd and 8, right? And Justin brought this up, and this is what ate me up on Monday. We'll get to my Monday feelings in a minute. But on Monday, so I had spent the last 2 weeks, we talked about happiness last week and watching everybody celebrate in just this city. And this is why I love living in this town, because, gosh, if you win in this town, you are kings.
With that being said, not to distract, did you see Barstool show video of LA's parade? Dude, it was empty.
Yeah.
Like empty.
I've got that
like,
on.
Like that town got.
I've got that on. Don't
This
jump
town,
ahead.
when we were watching it, some of the people in the house talking about going downtown and celebrating. I was like, man, there's gonna be cars set on fire. This town's gonna be nuts. So be careful if you go downtown because this town's gonna go stupid. No, not Cincinnati. And I was like, just be careful if you choose to go downtown.
Yeah.
And then you look at LA and there's like 8 people in the street in the parade.
So
like
California is just different, right? It's
Correct.
different. I love California. I loved California, right?
right.
California love, right? Loved it. But not to get political, but to get political, they had a mask mandate for that stadium, right? They waived it hours before. The following Monday, the kids in LA had to go to school and wear a mask. Now you tell me, whatever side of the fence somebody might be on, what part of that makes sense? Nothing. Nothing does, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I digress. I had to get that out because you brought that up. Not to mention you had Snoop smoking weed inside the stadium. So, like at that point, like the stadium was its own little entity. So the Bengals defense is gassed. Their pass rushers are gassed, and you get them. It's 3rd and 8, and you have the play on 3rd and 8, and all of a sudden, well, you had a 4th and 1 too. Mm-hmm. They had a 4th and 1 earlier in there, and what did they do? They gave it to their playmaker on a reverse.
Yes,
and he got it.
Yes,
right. We'll talk about that in a second too. I mean, this is all coming back to me as we're talking. But you have a 3rd and 8. It's danger, right? You don't want to give anything up. They run the play. The refs had let the T. Higgins pass interference go.
Yep.
Right? It was very, very cleanly played. The game was moving relatively quick. Inside that last 2 minutes, for whatever reason,
it became a disaster.
And you know when like highly respected coach Tony Dungy says that, something's not right. Right? And so you have that play to where our linebacker, who I would argue also had they won, could have potentially been MVP. He was stellar.
He was all over the field.
Stellar.
Logan, oh my goodness.
And then they call him for defensive holding. No. You see the play. He knocked the ball down.
Yeah.
They may have scored on 4th and 8. And had that happened and they scored on 4th and 8, we'd be having a completely different discussion. Right? But then on Monday, you're watching that. So I see that, and you see all these people you chiming in, and these are like people with legit professional opinions, like that's a bad call, this is stupid, like it should have been 4th and 8. Watch that play over. The entire offensive line went offsides.
As soon as that's the first thing I said. I was like, full start. So why didn't they call that?
That should have never happened.
Correct.
The play should have been dead right then. It would have been 3rd and 13.
Yeah.
Which is another different scenario. A little less danger at 3rd and 13, right? Boom. They ruin it.
Yep.
The next play, they get to a 4th and 1. Or not the next play. They get to another 4th down. They throw it into the end zone. Holding on the offense, it was 4th. I want to say it was 4th down. I could be wrong on that.
Can't remember.
No, it wasn't 4th down because I would have been jumping up and down had that happened. Might have been 3rd. Defense is doing well, but still gassed. There's a holding call, and then you get Von Bell hitting the guy, getting a flag thrown for unnecessary roughness, which gives them a 1st down. And then you get probably a legitimate pass interference call in the end zone. It's like, that happened. Flash forward to the Bengals' final drive. They hit a big gain.
There's another play there's 2 plays that bad calls are going to happen, and we can sit around and everybody argue. There's not a game that's ended in the past 20 years where the refs hasn't decided the outcome of the game, and to me it's just like, put it in your game plan. Something's going to get screwed up. Accept it, move on. It is what it is. It's never going to change. They make bad calls. It's the human element of the game. So it is what it is. T. Higgins face mask. We got away with that. So it's like, at the end of the day, there's going to be balances in life, but and we talked about it. 4th and 1, the Rams, they give the ball to Cooper Kupp.
Right.
And no offense to Piron, but
so
you're not our moneymaker.
So let's get to that. Okay, so the Bengals get the ball. They got a decent return, if I remember. And then the very next, they got a big play that got them to right about midfield, just short of midfield.
Right.
Okay. And you have a slant over the middle to Tyler Boyd, who hasn't dropped the ball in 2 years.
So we're not allowed to play Mariah Carey in here, are we?
I don't know.
From the Christmas songs?
No. We're not. Oh, that. No.
We'll just say no Mariah Carey.
No.
Let's go with Ah. Yeah.
Do it.
Keep going. It was 50.
So
Just a little bit.
So they have this gain that gets them to about midfield. Then they run a slant to Tyler Boyd, who hasn't dropped a pass in 2 years.
Alexa, play Mariah Carey, We Belong Together.
So
We belong together by Mariah.
they show the replay, and it was one of those things where it's almost like the moment may have gotten a little bit big for him just in that short amount of time, where he takes his eyes up, and he would have picked up the first down,
Yeah.
and he drops it. Okay. Dude earned a right
Yeah.
to drop a ball. I get it.
Yeah.
But it sucks.
Yep.
Right? And flash forward, they get to the point where it's 3rd and 1. Mixon comes. Here's the problem. And I heard Zach Taylor talk about this. And what he said makes sense. Logistically makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You're in the Super Bowl. You have a timeout, maybe 2 timeouts. You take Mixon off the field because that is what is normal. It's been normal all year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have your 3rd down package, which P. Ryan, he said he's more of the blocking back. You know, we're trying to get the 1 yard. He's been in there all year. They tried it with him. Why he didn't reach out,
We'll never know.
I'll never know, because if he reaches that ball across, he gets it.
Yep.
Doesn't reach out. So Taylor was talking. He said he had taken, it was 4th and 1, so he had taken pretty late, I guess, into the game clock to get the play call in for 4th and 1. The running backs coach said to him, do you want Mixon to go in? And I guess he looked up and saw the play clock. He goes, no, just leave P. Ryan in there. Long story short, they get through, stop him, and I think you and I were talking about this yesterday. My first reaction on Monday was like, man, really looked like, I'm not judging him because it would have been a hell of a play and a hell of a catch, but it really looked to me like
He could have caught that ball.
he could have caught the ball. So yesterday I saw another view of that pass. He was not catching that ball. Nobody was catching that ball.
Was it too far out in front of him?
And too low.
Okay.
Too low from the get-go. From where we saw it on the television,
Yeah.
it looks like that. But we saw this was like an end zone view of where, or whatever their camera was up top.
Yeah.
It wasn't
But
catchable.
you know the old outfield. Just throw your glove up. You never know.
Yeah. Trust me, it was enough because I was that way. But
Yeah.
then when I saw it and I showed it to Nicole, I was like, he wasn't going to get to it. So
Yeah.
the problem lies with everything. They're treating everything the same and being normal, and taking one of your best players, your best ball carrier, off the field
Yeah.
on 3rd down. Like, and that's know where you are in that situation. Leave your group out there because Mixon picks up that 1st down on
Yes.
3rd down.
Yes.
Now, leading you to the 4th down play. Again, the ref swallowed their whistle. Again. The picture shows, the overhead picture shows, Aaron Donald is this far over the ball.
Yeah, I saw that. I'd have to see that live because I saw the picture. I saw the still picture. I didn't see when the ball was snapped, though, because you've seen some of those guys, they line up, and then they back up, and then the play's going. So I saw that picture. I saw the still picture. I haven't seen the live footage. Did he reposition right before the snap? Do we know that?
Well,
'Cause I see it a lot where guys line up and they back off at the last second.
that's a good point. That's a good point. But let's go under
The false start was a false start.
let's go under the assumption that he did not.
Okay.
Okay, that he is, let's say, head.
Yes, his
Over the
helmet's
ball.
offside.
That final play. If Joe Burrow had that much more room, the Bengals win the game.
Yep.
Because if you saw the overhead footage,
Jamar Ramsey. I tell you what, and I'm not going to defend Eli Apple in any way because I just think he was
I will
he
because
was wishy-washy all year, but I think he had the same game as the best cornerback in football. Ramsey got smoked, dude.
no, he didn't. No, Ramsey did.
Ramsey did.
Apple didn't, and I'll defend Apple because if the Bengals don't have Eli Apple this year, they're not in that game.
Right.
They're not in that game. Whether it's a tough day or not. You know how many yards? I don't know this exact number.
He had a good run in the playoffs, man. When it mattered most, he had a great
Eli
run.
Apple gave up less than 30 yards covering.
Cooper Cup.
He gave up 2 touchdowns, but less than 30 yards.
Right.
So I get it.
Right.
It was a hell of a throw. The touchdown was, you're taught as a defensive back, if you feel like you're going to get beat, hold them, do something, right? So I understand all that. I'm not going to beat up Eli Apple. I kind of enjoyed him being the villain, right?
And
you're
I think
right.
every team needs one.
You're all right. I mean, he puts himself out there. Fine. I get it. I'm not going to defend that, but sometimes karma's real. It comes back and gets you,
Yep.
right? But if you watch that final play, if Burrow had Aaron Donald's head further to go, because he basically did exactly what he did last week, the week before, or 2 weeks before against the Chiefs. He was rolling out of that pocket and going to chase, but there wasn't the time. And maybe had he not hurt his knee, maybe his leg would have been a little bit stronger. Maybe he could have gotten out of that. I don't know. But Aaron Donald, at the end of the day, Aaron Donald makes the play that wins the Rams the Super Bowl, regardless of wherever he was. It just sucks because I sat here Monday and saw all these things, and the overhead picture of that is just like, oh. And as happy as this town was, like, it just, on Monday, I felt like somebody close to me died. Like, that's how, like, destroyed. And I watched all these shows for so long. I was like, I got to watch them again. I don't want to, but my own therapy, I'm going to watch them, and I'm going to suffer through watching all of these highlights. And
That's good.
And everybody tell them how great
Alexa, play Marie Osmond. You're still new to me.
Super Bowl victory, still new to me. So I was so burnt up and just like, and then you're talking about the play calling, and that, yes, it is what it is. You could.
So when we broke down the Titans game and the 9 sacks, and I think we learned something from that. I think Joe Burrow learned a lot from that on getting rid of the ball, making better decisions, doing some things different. I think it was a good loss. It wasn't a loss, but it was a good rough experience for him to project forward in his career. And I'm hoping the same thing happened with this coaching staff of, hey, guys, we're legitimate. We're going to be in these situations a lot more. We need to mimic preparation the way the Patriots did and expect to be in these tight situations, because when the Patriots are in those tight, close games at the end, all the post interviews, like, we worked on that. And I really think they did. It's like, hey, we worked on situations to where, when the clock management, the personnel on the field, what happens in this situation, what happens in that situation. And I think the leave P. Ryan in, I think the more we're in close situations like that, the coaching staff is more prepared of what happens if we fall short here. Okay, we have to get this personnel ready, and they radio down, they get everything done, and so I think that is part of a Super Bowl caliber team and a Super Bowl championship team is in those detrimental moments. Nothing's unexpected. As hard as it is to say nothing can be unexpected, I think the coaching staff is going to have to step back and say, hey, we need to, in this offseason, we need to, put some things, think of some things, but during practice, during the season, we need to be in awkward situations.
I agree with that to an extent. I don't feel that they were unprepared. I don't. I think with their personnel and what they had, I felt. I mean, you're one play away from winning the Super Bowl.
Correct.
So sometimes it's not so much, in my opinion, about preparation. It's they made one more play than you did.
Right.
And it's easy to be the quarterback couch, or the couch quarterback, right? And hindsight's always 20/20 of what should we have done, what should we, But in terms of the moment, like, sometimes it does just boil down to execution, and like, so,
yes.
like,
yes, like extending your arm.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the referees are the reason the Bengals lost. What I would have liked to have seen is that be fourth and 8 or 4th and 13, right, on that play, And if the Rams score, it is what it is. You got to go down and execute, right? We knew the offensive line had struggles. And when it came to the biggest moment, the Rams' best player got to our best player.
Yes.
And that's hard to swallow because you can look at all the things, but they're all just what ifs, right? This is what happened. And like, even saying that right now is just a little bit therapeutic. But it happened that way. You can question a lot of calls. You can question, the personnel that was in the game at that time. I understand it logistically. I don't agree with it. In those moments, I would want my best players out there on the field unless they're hurt.
Yep.
So I think that's something that they'll kind of take away from it. The feeling after was just terrible. And then the following day, it got a little bit better, and then a little bit better. Time kind of heals all wounds.
Time, like the internet, is undefeated.
Yeah, I've finally gotten back on TikTok. I'm reading all the tweets, and I'm still trying to get excited.
Alexa, play Bittersweet Symphony.
Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve. on Amazon
So
Music.
I'm trying to get excited for next year. But as a Bengals fan, it's like there's part of me that's like, I'm just waiting for Joe Burrow to come out and say he wants to be traded now. Yeah,
Thanks,
it's like-
Carson Palmer.
I'm like,
See that
guy's
Carson
a-
Palmer
guy's
interview?
a clown. He's a clown.
We're not allowed to say that name, are we?
No,
He's the other number 9's interview.
He's a clown.
Yeah. But the Bengals are acting quick, man. They got Zach signed up pretty quick.
Yeah, so
we got the Bearcats, got Luke Fickell signed up
what
pretty
was
quick.
awesome.
Pretty
Again,
lucrative.
This is why I love living in this town, is because Monday morning, perfect execution. Cincinnati Bearcats, UC football. Oh, we've extended Luke Fickell. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. But we did just lose the Super Bowl yesterday, right? And
Just say that out loud again. We were in the Super Bowl to lose the Super Bowl. It's like, oh man, we lost the Super Bowl.
So I had a buddy,
Great year.
that texted me and he's like, oh, Zach Taylor's got a long way to go. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He just coached his team to a Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't have that long to go. Like, everybody's gonna life experiences, right?
Yes.
Life
Yes.
experiences. So you learn from your life experiences and try not to make those mistakes again.
Yes.
Right? Look at Sean McVay. Lost his first Super Bowl.
Yep.
He has players. They went out and got players that
So I think the world of Sean McVay, man. I do. I think he's going to be one of the better NFL coaches for a long time. I think he's fantastic.
yeah, and I think you're seeing that. I think you're seeing that
I think right now he's currently one of the best. So
Well, you look
I
at-
think he's going to retire as like a
look
great,
at his tree.
great
And these
coach.
people that they said it before the thing was just if you have a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, you'll end up being an NFL head coach.
Right.
Green Bay, Cincinnati, now Minnesota. I think I'm missing one in there too.
You are. I can't remember who it is. But yeah, he's. I think pretty highly of him. I think he's a great coach, man. I
So-
thought pretty highly of his quarterback
Yes. So I don't
until
know.
his true character came out in that viral video. You.
So let's go
I
to the
saw it.
parade.
Let's go to the
Because we'll
parade.
lead to that, right?
All 15 people in LA that were at the parade because
Oh,
they
man.
could care less if they even have a team.
And they were just. So I was watching the Jim Rome show on TV while I was working, and the show's based out of LA, and the talk was everybody wanted to swoop in on the Rams parade. Did you hear that? Like,
Oh, LeBron, you're pathetic.
they wanted the
Can we get in? We should have a tri-team parade because I didn't get
Dodgers,
one.
which
LeBron.
well deserved, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yes,
bring
I'm
back?
LeBron hating right now.
You're gonna bring back all those guys that were on that
Yeah,
team? No,
yeah.
it's just for you, right?
Sorry, LeBron.
Yeah, no, get bent, LeBron. You suck. And so they end up having the parade, and Rome is just crushing him. Like, there's
Or
no-
to un-LeBron hate, he foresaw that that's not a LA Rams town, and he's like, man, I'm gonna feel bad when nobody shows up to the Rams.
Yeah.
We should bail them out and get a crowd there. We should do something for them because nobody here cares about them. So maybe LeBron, your intuition was to look out for a fellow team in the city.
It was like the start,
Maybe.
the start of the parade where it was supposed to start. Like, it was like on this intersection. Nobody there.
Barstool is
Oh, they're
good.
savage. They're
Yeah.
savage.
Yes.
And so then they go on to the parade. And you saw a sprinkling of people here, sprinkling there, and the guys on the floats, they're having a blast. You know, apparently a little too much. And I tweeted it out today. Barstool shared a picture of their stage, their podium, and there was I guess she's an NFL photographer. She was taking a picture of Matt Stafford and his wife, because God knows the last 2 weeks all we've heard about how great a dude Matt Stafford is,
Right?
How he's winning it for Detroit too. Like by the way, speaking of, like, did you see the stats on where it was watched the most? Cincinnati and Detroit. It's like the most watched television show like in the last 5 years.
Good for Detroit.
Maybe. I'm pretty sure.
Up into that moment of life.
So they show the stage, and it's just like about a 15-second clip, and there's no guardrail, no nothing. This photographer's there. She's taking a picture of Matthew Stafford, his wife, and she's backing up, and she backs up right off the stage, like literally just boom, hits the ground. The camera is still on Matt Stafford and his wife, and she takes, I don't know, say 2 seconds, and kind of looks at Matthew Stafford, and he drops oh shit, takes a drink of water, turns his back, and walks away. In the meantime, his wife rushes. Yeah, needed it, right?
He takes a drink.
Rushes to look over to check in the condition of whoever this was. Completely bad look. So if you haven't seen it, check out our Twitter page. It's out there. Turns out the girl broke her back. She broke her spine. I guess she's okay, because I've seen tweets from her already.
If you see someone fall, period, like 6 inches, or you just see someone take a fall, and then you see someone take a fall and they completely disappear in their fall because it's such a long fall, I cannot wrap my head around of just turning my back and walking away. Like, there's an instinct that would twitch and run over to just, are you okay? Like, it would come out of my mouth, are you okay? Like, whoa.
Yeah,
like something. The
so when you
acknowledgement
watch it,
that it just happened, and his head was.
So it was such a bad look.
Yeah,
such a bad look, because it wasn't like
he's like, ain't my problem.
That's exactly what it was. It was like, had he turned around and called for help, okay, which is what maybe some,
Yes, at the end of the day, there's nothing he could have done,
right,
to help.
Correct.
Except look like he cared.
Correct.
Like a compassionate human being.
Be a human.
Yes.
Like his wife. His wife, clearly, she thought about the situation, did what anybody...
And then she looks at him like,
yeah,
oh, you don't care.
Right. It's such a bad look, to the point of, like, I stayed on it, and I'm like,
his character comes into question big time, man.
I was disgusted by it, because he did get a lot of coverage about, like, what type of person he was. And I'm sorry, like, and people make mistakes in that, but, like, it's in those moments that your true person comes out. Again, like you said, he wasn't going to be able to do anything, but, like, there was zero care, zero compassion, as if he pushed her off himself.
Not funny, but yeah.
No, but yeah, and if you see it, check it out, because it's disturbing.
Yeah,
it's disturbing, and we're all part of the human race. You would like to think that. Gosh, you almost even wonder, like, you've heard about those law, like is it the Good Samaritan law?
Yeah, yeah.
Where, like, you see a car wreck or a crime happen, or somebody gets hurt, and you don't do anything, like. That was what it was like. Yeah. But it was like in real time. You're just watching, like, holy cow, did that just happen? Like, that dude's totally not who I thought he was.
Right.
It's just really odd, bizarre. Like, check it out.
It has a funny way of bottling itself up and exposing you for who you are.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
It will expose you somehow, some way or another. And
so we have, we talked the Super Bowl. And I'm trying to get hyped up for the future, which I am. Don't get me wrong when I say that. I am really excited, but the problem is we have to wait so long. And Jake said it here. It's like it's right here. It's like, oh man, and it was really hard for them to get to the Super Bowl. So that's the other thing. Like, there's no guarantees. Like, Aaron Rodgers has only been there once. You know,
Yes.
Peyton Manning with the Colts only got there once. So all that stuff is just kind of like it's sucking me in, right? And
We're country heavy today. Keep going.
so I'm not concerned about the future because the future is bright. So let's talk about where do we go from here. The obvious answer is we got to beef up that line.
Yes, yes. Alexa, play On the Other Hand, Randy Travis.
On the other hand,
Yeah, we need to beef up the line and
And they have the money to do it,
yeah.
but the skeptical Bengal fan, you know, it's like, will they do it? You
Right.
know? So there's that. They've got some of their own guys that I think deserve to be re-signed.
Yeah.
I beat up this guy all postseason, all season. The postseason, I did it strictly out of negative equity and the reverse jinx.
Yeah.
But he had a tremendous postseason, which is Jesse Bates. When you have a safety, two safeties that can play the way that him and Von Bell did in the postseason, sign me up. I'm on board.
That entire defense was just
Good.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
fun to watch in the
So
postseason.
you've got those guys. You've got some guys on the defensive line that deserve to be re-signed. It's weird you're going to draft late in the draft. You know,
Last draft, right? They were the last pick.
second to last.
Okay, I thought so. I thought it was on
No.
the post that said we were the last pick.
No, 30. We're 31st. Detroit actually gets the last pick
Okay.
because of the trade with the Rams. So I prefer. I always prefer my offensive linemen be free agents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough to bring a rookie into this league on the offensive line and expect to be
Yeah.
growth there. You need a veteran there.
Yeah.
And we've got the third most highest salary cap, so it's, how do we trade up? How do we move things around? How do we get a good veteran lineman that is sound instead of trying to
I think they need 2 or 3.
correct?
But it's like if you draft a lineman and you miss on them, like, man, you missed out.
Yeah.
Like, other than quarterback, like missing on an offensive lineman, you can survive a lot of the other positions if it's a bust.
Yeah.
But if you miss on a lineman or you miss on a quarterback, like, your organization is gonna be crap.
That's a good point. I agree with that.
You
I
know,
agree with that.
and get your free agents, get them in there, and then that way you can draft the best available player, regardless of position, short of quarterback.
Yep.
You know, because this team is really good
I agree.
with a lot of potential to take the next step and be great. And I think that's what makes me the most
Optimistic about the future.
optimistic and nervous.
Yeah.
You know, but they had they had their rally yesterday, which had more people at their rally than the Rams had on an entire parade. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for all of those things. I just want it to start right now because
Yeah.
I'm in that mode where it's like, hey,
Just everything, the package deal, man. We're going to have a great we're already one of the top 7 or 8 high school football towns in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to be a relevant, significant college football town
yep.
and a potential NFL relevant football
Well,
town.
they're going to be relevant, regardless if they don't do anything. They could go out there and not sign. I mean, people will be pissed, but
Right.
regardless if they don't do
So
anything,
this is just going to be a football town, and hopefully it all feeds off of one another, and it can be what it is here. And is there another college? I guess I don't even think LA is a professional football town.
no.
Like
I mean,
the
clearly
super-
that
like
showed.
they are a very lopsided college football town and high school football town, but all 3 tiers are going to be
Do you know why the NFL did what they did?
money.
Yes, for Sunday. That's exactly why they wanted a Super Bowl in LA, and they couldn't. They didn't feel they could do it without having a team. That there was no reason for the Rams to go back to LA. LA can't support them by the fan base. There's no reason that the Chargers are in LA.
None.
Like, they did it so that they have this beautiful building that they could put.
Their celebrities and
Yep.
yeah.
And I don't think that is going to last very long.
I wonder what
Not
the
for both
attendance is
teams.
going to be like. You know, we're getting distracted here, but that's what we do. I wonder what the future for the LA Rams is going to be like, because they do got some old schoolers. I mean, they did have through the '80s. I mean, they were
Eric Dickerson.
Yeah, I mean, they had fan support. They got good turnout, but you know, when they left, I think people moved in different directions, and nobody really there is a Charger fan. They got to go back to San Diego.
I know.
That's
that
just
sucks.
so weird. Like, nobody there is a Charger fan, and so it'd be interesting to see and it's almost, and where I'm going with this right now is like, it's almost like when a town hosts the Olympics and they build all the arenas.
Yeah.
And then, like, what do you do with the arenas? Like, if SoFi Stadium is going to be like in an Olympic arena and they're gone, it's like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Like, that's $8 billion arena that, where's it going to go?
Right. And so what did the NFL do? They bailed him out.
Good job, LA.
They bailed him out.
Good job, NFL.
And so, yeah,
And not to get political, but hey, let's take a little and pull the curtains back on the homeless problem in California. Sweet stadium, bro.
yeah, right. Right.
Maybe that could shelter the homeless problem they got.
Well, I heard a joke yesterday. If the Rams wanted fans in the stands, just give all the homeless guys Rams jerseys.
Yeah,
good point.
We're going to a past that.
So the future's bright. Right?
Yes.
I'm looking at our comments here. Justin, NFL is rigged. Gives people a legitimate argument. I don't think the NFL is rigged, but it is hard. It gives people on that side a little bit of an argument when you get some questionable calls. There are ways to fix it, but I do enjoy. I like the human element. Personally,
Zach, we were talking. He was drunk.
Yeah, he was
when he fell, and that is thought about, but
it's not an excuse.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it. Zach, there's because I've drank in my lifetime,
yeah,
and I've seen things happen, and I've sobered up really quick, and I've acknowledged. Like, I don't know that I've ever been like passed out drunk. I've been pretty woozy. But I can't think of. He was walking. He was coherent. And he was competent.
Yeah.
In his drunken stage, so he wasn't beyond acknowledging. Oh no.
I think even at that, like, your just human reaction should be rush to the top to the front of the stage.
Yeah.
Rush to the front of the stage, like we talked about this before. Rush to the front. Take a look. Call for help. Whatever, jump down. You're not gonna. He's not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Let's at least give the impression off that, like, this is another human that just had a bad fall. Something bad happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, show some humility. Instead, gosh, it'd been even better if he would just stood there and stared instead of what he did, which is just turn and take a drink of water, and walk away. Like, completely, like, yeah, and you said it best, like, oh, it's not my problem.
Right.
No, it's her problem that you should probably check on.
Right.
It's like, how many, you see a car flip 7 times on the highway. Are you just going to keep going? No, I'm probably going to pull off and call 911.
Right.
And
yeah, it sucks for them.
Yep.
Right.
Not my problem.
That's just terrible.
I got a meeting.
That is terrible. I can't get my head around it, and because it's fresh to both of us, and we're still trying to. That's why we've talked about.
Yeah, I
it
caught
a
it
lot.
this morning, and I sent it out.
It's a fresh emotion of, like, I can't get my head around that. Like,
And
what is going on?
I think there's going to be some heat there.
I hope he comes out and it's. I hope it's for his case. It doesn't affect my life any at all. If he does or doesn't come out and apologize and say, hey, what I did was. Whatever excuse he has, I hope there's something out there, because I did have such a positive thought of him.
He's going to get crushed.
Yeah.
He's going to get crushed.
Or he's not.
Oh, he will.
Because, or he's not.
I think he will. So, Jake's here. Jake, hello. You kind of lead me into my next point, and I probably could use a little bit of assistance on this. But he says, yeah, the crappy part is we have 7 months to ponder the sauce. Agreed. I felt that way. Come on, baseball. So that's where I'm going with this next, is the baseball lockout. Well, we talked about this around Christmas time. So Nicole surprised all of us with spring training tickets. So we're supposed to be going out to Arizona, catch a couple of the Reds games out there, see some sights, and come back. Well, that's in 2 weeks. And baseball still hasn't delayed. They've delayed, they said, but they haven't canceled any games. So my heart of hearts, it's like, okay, pitchers and catchers were supposed to report last week, regular position players this week, and then 10 days, games start. So right around the end, like the last couple days of February, they had games. So
Alexa, play. Put me in, coach. Center field.
So
on Amazon Music.
we're supposed to be going out, like I want to say the 1st or 2nd of March, catch a couple games. Well, if you're looking at the timeline right now, it's February 17th. There's only 28 days in February, so we have 11 days. So if it was pitchers and catchers report and you have 2 weeks, they still need pitchers and catchers to report. Then you have the next week, regular players, like these are their prized assets. Their most expensive guys are their pitch. They're not going to run these pitchers out there. Oh, we're going to play games now.
No.
Like, what's the holdup?
It'll be delayed. It has to be for the safety of everybody.
Just go out there right now at this point and say, hey, right now it's delayed. The games this week, whatever,
Will be
February
this week.
28th, are not going to take place.
So when are you guys going out?
Like the 1st of March.
Okay.
And so we've got plane tickets for the 5 of us to go out there. That got to figure out what we're going to do with those. Game tickets, which we can't get any refund on the game tickets until they're actually canceled.
Right.
So it's twofold. We'd really like to do it, but I also don't want to go to Phoenix because it's not cheap to go to Phoenix and not see baseball.
Right.
You know, to go out there, like go to the desert for a vacation and go sightsee
Make
and
that trip up to Grand Canyon.
and spend a bunch of money and you know those types of things, right?
Drive down to Tombstone.
Stop. Because we talked like what? Because I'm going to some of these things next, right? So like we were trying to figure out if and when spring training doesn't happen, Allegiant will give us credit that we can keep for a year. Right?
Yeah.
So basically, we can fly, use those plane tickets within a year. The
Mike Miller asked, he said, will the lockout ruin MLB? To be honest, I'm looking for a youth baseball player over the MLB to get over this greed.
I don't think it will ruin the MLB. I'm with you. I mean, knowing Mike and myself and you with softball, like we are distracted during that portion. So it's like I pay attention, but I'm not as diehard because there's so many games. There's 162 games. They're playing pretty much every night. So like, you don't live and die with Major League Baseball the way that you do with like NFL football or college football because those are more events than they are actual games.
Remember when we were young kids, dude, we loved baseball.
Oh, I still do.
Like we watched a ton of it. Like we were. It's different now to then. You know, for myself anyway, about how much I watched it then to now. Most things, but where we are, and not to get a political show, but I think we're going to pepper some stuff in. But where we are in like society, where it's almost got anti-rich, that is magnified more in the world today.
Matt Stafford didn't help that.
No. So it's so to look at professional athletes and professional owners, you know, squabble over these things. I think it's a little more sensitive and looked at different now today. So will it ever recover from this? Yeah, because it's all cyclical, right? And when they did it in '94, I think it crushed this town, the '94 strike. And even '98, when Sosa and McGuire did what they did, I think it put a little defibrillator jolt back into
jolted it
baseball.
back.
And there was a lot of love for the sport there, and it caught some momentum. But I don't think, still to this day, I don't think this town has recovered from the '94 strike. And the Bengals got more popular, so that didn't help us becoming a baseball town again. So I think in this one, I don't know that the Reds love baseball enough over the Bengals that they're emotionally going to care.
I would say, if you win, people come.
Yeah.
If you win, people come. There is enough stuff downtown to where Cincinnati, and I love this town. Love it. And seeing everything that we've seen over the last, 4 weeks has improved even the love of this town and what a great place it is to live. I don't think that strike, I think at the time, yes, it destroyed them. They were a really good baseball team that had a chance to win the World Series, and it got canceled.
Mike said to fly up to Cooperstown with your voucher so Austin can pitch for him.
Yeah, no way.
There's your answer, Mike.
So we could talk about your Mike, maybe not going to Cooperstown if you'd like, but they had 1999. The Reds did, where similar like the Bengals this year, they came out of nowhere with a bunch of young guys, and they got into the playoff, the one-game playoff with the Mets, and it was a really, really likable team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that topped with the year before, with the Sosa McGuire stuff, brought Cincinnati back.
Okay.
And then they brought Griffey in. And that really galvanized the fan base. Obviously, he got hurt. Things didn't really work out. It kind of turned a little bit the other way. But I was at the game in 2012, I want to say. No, 2009. 2009, because I had Austin in a one of those backpacks.
Yeah.
And we had third level seats, and we were sitting. There's glass there, but I was nervous to stand up because I've got this fear of heights.
Right.
And him as a baby, he was born in September or in October. He's not very, 2009. He's only
Yeah.
Whatever. No, he'd have been a year. It'd been 2010. Gosh, I'm getting my dates all screwed up. Would have been 2010 because he would have been 1 year old.
Right.
And he's me leaning over, just completely made me nervous, right? And we knew they were going to clinch. Well, we were at the game where they clinched, and Jay Bruce hit a home run,
I remember that. Yeah.
a walk-off to win it. And that surge of happiness, because nothing like that had happened here in so long, be it Bengals, be it Reds, that kind of kick-started, I feel like, this town kind of across the board, because you had Cincinnati football, who was good with Brian Kelly, and they were going to look like they were going to continue to be really good.
Yeah.
You had, now all of a sudden, the Reds had Jay Bruce, Joey Votto, this Johnny Cueto, this just young group of guys that were fun, and they loved it. And then the Bengals they got rid of Carson Palmer.
The other 9.
They had, yes, and now you got Andy Dalton and AJ Green, and this young group is all of a sudden they're making the playoffs, their rookie year, and it's it is a really cool place to be. Eventually, like you said, it's cyclical. In Cincinnati, we don't have winners all the time.
Right.
So you do have to enjoy those times when they come, because our lifetime, it's not that often.
Right.
But I would argue that depending on who's winning is where this town's allegiance will lie. Not that they're front runners.
Yeah. You're right.
But I
wouldn't
call it a baseball town. I think if you're familiar with the Big Red Machine, if that was your era, you probably call it more of a baseball town.
Right.
If you're our age,
the Bengals have taken that throne. I think
to an extent. You have the 1990 Reds, which I was old enough to remember.
Yeah.
You had
going down to a Reds game, going to a Bengals game, people were there for the football game.
It's an event.
Going to the Reds game, it's almost an appetizer for the evening. I think people go down and it's like, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to do this. Hey, let's go to the Reds game. We'll meet up there and we'll watch the game, and then we'll go out and have an evening of it. Or it's just like we're also going to go to the Reds game. We got friends in town, show you the city, we'll go check out the Reds game. That's just the vibe I get for this town on the Reds game. And I know there's a few that are passionate Reds fans,
Sure.
but painting with a broad brush here, that's kind of the tone I get for Reds games, and it's not. So if you go to like the Cleveland, Boston, and watch a Red Sox game, they're there for the game.
Well,
you go to Wrigley, they're there for the game. Like it's just kind of a different emotional feeling, and maybe that's just my experience of it. So that's why I'm so lopsided, and kind of to Mike's point, like, is Major League Baseball going to recover from this? And it's like, man, I don't know that as a society that you look at youth sports, numbers are going down. You look at viewership, numbers are going down on all sports, all platforms, NBA, NFL, all of them, the numbers are going down. We had such a passionate NFL this year because of the Bengals and the run, but like you just look abroad, and all ratings are going down for professional sports, and it's kind of it's different. So I don't know what this is going to do for Major League Baseball, but it is cyclical. So maybe we're just on a downtime on professional sports, period.
I feel
and
like
it's all going to surge back.
these labor stuff and that take place. They take place. I was having this conversation with Nicole last night. Like, why? She asked, like, why doesn't this happen with the other sports? I was like, well, it actually does. You know,
It does.
It happens in all sports, whether it's hockey. It's happened in the NHL. It's happened in the NFL. It's happened in NBA. You know, it's two groups of people that all want a bigger piece of this giant pie.
Yep.
Right. And right now, currently, the NFL has it figured out.
That's why it's the most popular sport in
Yes.
the country.
But the hard part is, like, you could say, well, if I'm the owners, I'm locking them out. If it's me, like, I'm locking them out so that we could put a better product out there, similar to the NFL. Like, whatever we need to do to make sure, one, the Cincinnatis of the world, the Pittsburghs of the world, you know, the Tampa Bay Rays, these smaller cities, San Diego, these smaller cities can compete with, you know, you've got the Dodgers who are in it every year.
Right.
Everybody talks about the Yankees. Everybody talks about the Red Sox. And the reason being is, to what you were saying, I believe, is those are destination places.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot of people that will go to Boston. And they'll go to Boston. Yeah, they'll go for the game, but a lot, like, I want to go see Fenway Park.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go see Yankee Stadium. You know, there's, I don't know, I'm throwing a number out here. If there's 10 million people that live in Cincinnati, there's 45 million that live in New York, too. So, I don't think, when I agree with the NFL is once a week, 8 or 9 weeks of the year, it is an event. Baseball is
81.
Yes, 81
Evenings.
Yes. I don't know if I agree.
I see it in that light now.
So it's
So the redundancy of it, we'll just use that just for argument's sake, of baseball versus football. I could see where it could be more of a casual, put your guard down, let's go enjoy this.
but ask me if I go to 5 to 10 games a year. When they are good, yes. Yeah, I do.
Right.
And I enjoy going. I like going, especially, like, I'll go on a Wednesday day game. It's a blast.
Yep.
You know? But in the same sense, like, if 81 games at, just say, $30 a pop, like, that's expensive.
That is.
Give me 9 games at, I don't know, like $60, $70, whatever the tickets are, a pop. Okay. You know, a little different, right? It's more of that event environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a little bit bigger of a deal. They don't play as much. But I also don't agree with entirely that the viewership stuff is down. I think that's why these teams can get away with, because let's be honest, they're not making a whole bunch of money off of attendance anymore.
Correct.
Their money that they're making is off of their TV deals,
Right.
The Foxes of the worlds.
I wonder if that's a deceiving stat because we never had local TV. We didn't have Bally, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up watching the Cubs because we didn't have
Yes.
a way to watch them. There are more. So
You had a national channel.
That would be an interesting stat. Now that I'm just kind of thinking out my comment because the stats say statistically the ratings have gone down, but I wonder if it's gone down on like CBS because you have local stations, like your local regional type things that pick up the game. So it's your major. I don't know.
I mean,
don't know.
look at the
so
Super
maybe
Bowl.
ratings are crazy higher than they've ever been because nobody goes to games anymore because attendances are down.
Correct.
But everybody watches it from home because you got so many different streaming.
You got so
apps.
many different options.
So it's tough to track.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Because you
an
look at
out
the Super
loud
Bowl, and they pulled stats from the Super Bowl. That is the most watched television program in the last, I want to say, 5 years. So not just football, not just the Super Bowl.
Yes.
The most watched program that's been on television in the last 5 or 6 years. Now, I would argue that the NFL, again, they've done it right.
Yeah.
Business-wise, they've done it right.
The draft, the parrot, everything about the NFL,
We
the
don't-
salary caps, everything is right.
We don't have an NBA team, but they are on nationally every night.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we had an NBA team, it would be on. I'd follow it.
Right.
I need a rooting interest, right, in order to do that. Same thing with the NHL. Like, we don't have one here. And they took away, so we stream everything, and when I got the streaming service I had, said, do you have Fox Sports Ohio at the time? Well, that streaming service, after, not this past year, the year before, took away Fox Sports Ohio when it went to Bally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a way to get Bally Sports. I can't just go on to ballysports.com and purchase a membership. I can't do it. So I have no way to actually watch the Cincinnati Reds.
That combination will affect
Absolutely.
viewership, fandom, everything.
But if I had cable or DirecTV, I could. There's so many things that are just tied together when it comes to, like, it drives me nuts. And it's something that I wish, as communist as it sounds, I wish the government would look into because it's not right for the consumer.
Right.
You have all these different avenues and areas to be able to watch whatever it is you want to watch. But without buying this cable satellite service, I can't stream everything from the Reds or from...
And competition always wins in the end. So the private sector, they'll figure it out.
'Cause I would.
When there's money to be made, they'll figure it out.
If they said, hey, you want... It's going to be $12 a month for a Bally Sports app.
Sure.
I'd buy it. Like, I have the app.
Mm-hmm.
I steal my buddy's login.
Right.
You know, as long as there's not 3 or 4 of us logged in at one time, I can watch it. But
Yep.
that shouldn't have to be that way. To me, like,
Yeah.
when you're talking about, you got, if I'm the owners, I'm trying to find a way to get more people watching.
100%.
And all they've done is limit it. And like
They made it the Super Bowl. It's such an elite group that can do it. And then here, when you yes, we can go on about all that for forever. When you're making it, yes, smaller audience, more difficult to get to. It affects the rooting interest. So my favorite sport is softball. I have such easy access to it. I fell in love with the sport watching page. So it's just, when it comes to Major League Baseball, are they on strike? Are they not on strike? I don't care. It will affect my life zero because I've got a weekend of softball to watch too. And it's just, you're starting to see more sports grow in this country with lacrosse and just different things like that are catching on. You've got concussion with NFL, so that's affecting that. So youth sports in NFL. So I'll be interested to see what youth sports look like in 15 to 20 years from now, or NFL looks like with what's feeding into professional baseball, football.
Yeah.
What it's going to look like. It's going to go down. And when we were kids growing up, so many baseball diamonds with like rec leagues and stuff like that, they were all over that were being used, and a lot of them are growing over now. So it's just and we're feeling it. You know, it's our generation. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, as kids, we had them all. All of our peers played, and then we look back at our kids, and it's like, man, it's just the travel sport, the elite levels, and it's harder to get into youth sports because everybody wants to say, hey, I'm going to start my select team, my travel team, my whatever team, and you have no more rec teams anymore, and it's it's all coming up the pipeline, and it's all going to change, and then to add a holdout in there. I don't. There's so, like you said, there's so many moving parts, man. With that, and Mike, thanks for throwing us down this rabbit hole of observing kind of the future of all professional sports, especially baseball. But you know, Joe Morgan was big on getting baseball in inner cities, man, and it's something that was there, and it's not there, and it's just, you know,
This guy,
that's everywhere.
this commissioner has done everything he could to shoot himself in the foot. Every time.
Right.
You know, they've made it impossible, like I said, for people to watch the games.
Yeah.
And you know,
And that's where the whole owners are concerned with what owners need to do for themselves, and then players are trying to do what they need to do for themselves. And I don't think either one of them are talking about us.
nope, they don't.
And I think the NFL, the reason they're the most popular sport is like, what does the fan want? If we build our reputation on what the fan wants,
the customer.
better word, the customer. Let's build it, and the owners stood firm on the customer, and it is what it is now. And I think the NBA, I don't think they're too far behind. I mean, I think they put customer first, the viewers first, the fans first, and they built it on that. And I don't think baseball's structured the same.
It's not.
And that's too bad for the sport.
It is.
It is a beautiful sport.
And the one thing that was, you mentioned it before when you're talking about fields and them being grown over, kids have too many things at their fingertips that they can do besides going outside.
Yeah.
You know, we're fortunate enough to live in a place to where there are other kids, so my kids will go outside. Man, in the summertime, that's what we did. We would play baseball in the circle in the front yard, wiffle ball, whatever.
We had the greatest childhood.
Yeah.
In any generation ever.
You know, we'd play football in the street, and it was like the street was lined up perfectly, just like an actual football field. We had telephone pole to telephone pole at your end zone.
Yep.
Right? You had sidewalks that looked like sidelines.
Game on.
Yeah. You got caught in. It was like, what are we doing? We're playing tag or tackle. Well, we're gonna play in the street. Okay, is it tackle in the grass? Because do you remember that? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like you had the sidewalk, and then you had the little portion of grass there, and then you had the street.
Yep.
So, is it tackle in the grass? Yeah, it's tackle in the grass. All right, cool. Right? And so, like, that was how we grew up. Just
In a car at the stop sign, that's our 2-minute warning.
Yes.
Get this play off before that car. Go, 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 go.
And so, like, that was how, you know, basketball. We'd lower the rims. We'd play you know, and I think there's something to that, to where when this was the one good thing I thought that came out of the pandemic, when we were all locked down and stuck at home. Thanks. It brought you back to that time.
Yes.
Because nobody wanted to be stuck in the house anymore, because you knew you were going to be there tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. So
Yes.
What did you do? Well, your neighbors got together, everybody got together, and you're sitting outside and you're doing
Alexa, play
that
Glory
stuff.
Days.
And so
Glory days. Like Springsteen.
that was nice. I kind of thought, I was hoping that a lot of that would stick. I just don't feel that it really has to that
No.
point. I think it's kind of gotten back to now. Too many things.
Hopefully that's something good that comes out of this holdout is Major League Baseball puts the customer. I love that wording. Puts
Yeah.
the customer first. And what do we need to re-ramp this? And current players can say, hey, you know what? For the betterment of the sport, let's meet somewhere.
Because if they
Let's
do
make
that,
this a popular sport in this country again.
because and everybody's bickering for the mighty dollar, right? And if you put that customer first, everybody's going to win. The players are going to make more money. The owners are going to make more money,
Yeah.
and the fans are going to get exactly what they want.
And the players don't want to mirror the NFL because that affects
Correct.
how much they can get paid.
Right.
Like, why would I negotiate against myself?
Right. I've got this great deal over here.
Yeah.
And the owners are like, well, it's too sweet a deal. Well, how about this?
Do you want a ring or a ton of money? Well, I want
let's
both and go to the
figure-
Yankees.
Let's figure out a way
So
to
now we've
make
got-
this accessible and enjoyable for the fans. You'll make more money. We'll make more money
Yes.
because it's a better product.
And you'll be a freaking rock star walking around.
Correct.
And you'll get commercial deals because you're more. It's the trickle down effect, right?
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, I don't blame the players for not wanting to do that, but they're both awful. So anyway, we're supposed to go there in 2 weeks, and so we're trying to
Thanks, Mike.
figure out a couple of different options. So last night we were looking at cruises, right? It's like, hey, can we take a cruise? It's like, no, you can't because you got to have a test to get on. You got to have all your vaccinations, and you can't have a mole somewhere, I think, too.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can't do that. And it was like, go to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is like, you got to show proof of vaccination everywhere. You got to wear this. You got to do that. I'm like, yep, nope, we're out of that, too. It's like, okay. Then I thought, well, what about, like, an all-inclusive to, like, Mexico or something like that? Nope, got to get tested on the way back in. I'm like, great. The last thing I want to do is all of a sudden have a bad test coming on the way back, and now I'm stuck in Mexico for 3 weeks or whatever it is. It's like, nope. And,
Yes.
and on top of that, like, our kids don't have passports, which is the most important thing. It's like, we got 2 weeks. You ain't getting a passport in 2 weeks.
No.
Not happening. So,
No.
so that's out. It's like, okay, well, where can we go to kind of? We can still go to Phoenix and do some different things there, but I'm like, it kind of ruins it a little bit for me because we have the tickets for the Reds game, so you already have like 2 days kind of planned where it's like going to be relaxing. You're going to kind of sit back at spring training. I've been to spring training. It's super relaxed environment.
Yep.
Like, the players
It
are
is.
really
It is cool.
accessible.
Running pole to pole in the outfield
Yeah.
during the game.
It's just it's
It's
just
neat.
different, and so you get access to players that you wouldn't get, on a regular 81 game schedule. Plus, it takes up part of your day, and it's like, okay, you kind of eat lunch or whatever at the ballpark, and then go to a restaurant at night, hit the pool, at the hotel, and just really just kind of sit back. And I feel like if we go out there and just go sightseeing, it kind of, one, you're going to spend more money
Yes.
doing that because you're gonna, hey, we're getting breakfast, we're getting lunch, we're getting dinner, we're getting entertained, whether it's, hey, we're gonna go do doom buggies.
This tour is $25 a person.
Yeah, and it's like,
yeah.
and it's the desert. it's like, it's not like, hey, let's go hang out at the beach and just watch people. It's like, it's the
And if
desert.
there's ever a good time to go to the desert, it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, right. And so, like, I'm kind of unless there's games, I've kind of soured a little bit on that, for logical reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, what about? The funny thing is, Nicole was like, hey, there's the Phoenix Suns are playing. I'm like, oh, maybe like go to the NBA game. I'm like, that doesn't sound all that bad. Okay. It's like, yeah, but or we save the plane tickets for something else. We're gonna get our refund for the game tickets. It's like, okay, but we have this time off, and Carson's older, so it's like you don't get a lot of this time back. So let's do something.
Yes.
Right. So what are we going to do? So we're trying to figure that out. I was like, well, we can go to Columbus. I looked it up, like the Blue Jackets. They have a Friday and a Saturday night game. And if you've never been to an NHL game, it's tremendous.
Fast and it's fun.
It's tremendous.
Yes.
So I looked that up. I was like, then you could click on the link to get to the hotel. Well, apparently somebody is coming into Columbus because all the hotels that are right around the district down there, they're completely booked. And I'm like, well, what about a little bit, down the street? Because there's a dozen, if not more, hotels in Columbus. It was like, well, they don't have a pool. It's like, okay, so then what are we going to do the one day that we're there? It's like, because the kids kind of look forward to, like, hey, it's wintertime, we're going to go
Yeah.
the indoor pool. It's like, and there's something to be said about eating up the clock, right? Keeping the pun, but eating up the clock to where there's a little bit of break, to where it's like I don't constantly have to feel like I'm always on the go,
Right.
and then I can turn around and leave on Sunday. So I think that's kind of still in play. I don't know for sure what we're going to do. So I'm looking for suggestions.
Any recommendations on a
We talked
on a
about
vacation?
Nashville. It's like
That's a cool town.
we've been to Gatlinburg 1,000 times. It's like I don't know. I mean, I like Gatlinburg, but it's like I kind of want to do something different for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. To be continued. Kind of where that kind of ends up. So today's been good. Therapeutic.
Yeah, I think we talked through the morning.
Yes.
And then we talked about parenting and We covered a lot.
So that's season. We're in season 2. That was episode 1. We'll be back next week about the same time, about the same place.
Turning 2, season 2, episode 2. We'll turn 2 next week.
Yeah, it'd be awesome if it was
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Maybe we should do it on the 22nd instead of next week. So it'd be second show of the second season on February 22nd of 2022.
Deuce is wild.
Yeah, be crazy.
What is the 22nd? And that might be a thought, because we were planning vacation. We looked at Yellowstone. They're like a year and a half out booking, or so everything you're running through, we're running through. It's like, where do we go? We looked at Vancouver because we had a friend there, and that's awesome. So Yellowstone. I just don't want to go to an ocean. I have nothing against the ocean, but I've seen one. I've seen them all, and I just want to do something different. And so everything you're going through, we're going through as well. And booking has been a challenge. And then, our HVAC just went out, so it's like, well, with inflation of everything going up, the furnace and air conditioning system is going to cost a little more than we want to. So it's like, well, that affects vacation. So what are we going to do? So we're in the same boat. Like, should we get a weekend here, a weekend there? We got family in Boone and a beautiful mountain. It's like, should we just go there and just kind of hang out there? And so everything, man, everything you just said, it's I could echo it all verbatim. And yeah, I think our vacation this year might be a new patio on the back of the house and enjoy our brand new air condition.
Yes. So it's been great. We'll be back next week at some point if we do two.
So with all that being said, our furnace, the guy just called and we're trying to get it scheduled. We're bouncing around. He said, "Can you do Thursday next week at 8 a.m.?" And I was like, "Ah." And then Jessica popped in my mind, and I said yes, because she's the trump card. If I say no and reschedule and it goes out and she has to deal with the day of cold, I'd rather deal with rescheduling this than working around the comfort of my wife.
So
she's not needy. I don't want to project that out there, but when Mama wants to stay warm.
2
on Tuesday
is Tuesday,
which has also been called Q's Day, which is pretty cool.
So we'll be in touch. That possibly could happen.
Yeah, I like that.
So Alexa, play "Welcome to the Jungle." Alexa, play "Welcome to the Jungle."
Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses.
There you go.
On Amazon Music.
One last time.
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about 2022. The season it'll be. Get us a line. Protect number 9. And champions we will be. We are out. Peace out, everybody.
Love you guys.